2 minutes. 2 minutes.
But you don't want them to become dependent. And, how do you draw? Same thing with giving people money on the street, panhandle. Do you give it because you know they're gonna buy liquor? Or you just. I was getting off on Lane Avenue going to Home Depot one day, and the guy said, "That's what you want." I said, "Wow." I said, "Why lie? I need to see it."
Where's the chair?
1 minute. 1 minute.
Yes, track. Yeah, thank you. It's hard looking from an angle on the light. Should I tell Lauren? Get it. I don't know. It's gonna look pretty bad.
Should I tell Lauren to just start it?
Maybe
We go live at 6.
so maybe
He can do the call
that,
meeting to order.
that or give it in just a few minutes after 6 and then start.
When we go live.
So.
I'm out of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but what she's saying is
No, I get it,
we're
but
live,
maybe-
so people will just be doing
They're
nothing.
gonna watch this. I mean, that doesn't drive it for me.
Smells good.
Okay, we were going without you. I know. Oh, we didn't even have the superintendent.
Miniature. She's right there.
No, she's right here. Daryl's,
The school board of the Duval County School District is now convened in its regular monthly meeting. To everyone present and to our television viewers, I wish to extend a warm welcome to this meeting of the Duval School Board. The vision statement of the Duval County School Board states, "Every student is inspired and prepared for success in college or a career and life." The mission statement of the Duval County School Board is to provide educational excellence in every school and every classroom for every student every day. The Duval County School Board is here tonight to listen to reports from district staff and to set policy for the district that will improve student achievement. We will also address budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and other business items that require a vote of the board. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent and not the school board. It's not the role of the school board to make managerial or operational decisions. The board has policies and procedures in place to assist the superintendent in resolving management and operational issues. If items appear to move quickly, it is because the board meets in an agenda meeting prior to the board meeting for an in-depth review of all agenda items. The committee meeting for the September 9, 2019 school board meeting will be held on August 20, 2019 at 9 a.m. and the public is invited to attend. As a show of courtesy and respect to each other, we ask that all mobile phones be turned off and that no flash photography be used during the meeting. For those wishing to address the board during our public comments portion of the board meeting, please note that we'll accept speaker cards only until 6:20 p.m. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the operation of the Duval County School District. Board members, I invite you to stand for the opening message given tonight by retired pastor Ted Corley and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Loving and gracious God, in the name of your beloved Son, Yeshua, we come before you tonight to declare you indeed are the giver of all good gifts. We come to thank you today for all of your blessings for Duval County Public Schools, for the successful outcomes of our 2018-2019 school year, for all of our school leaders, our teachers, and our staff. We thank you for our superintendent and for the members of this board. Tonight, we give you thanks for the successes of the 2019-2020 school year in every school and for every child, even before it begins. We ask, Lord, that you would bless the members of this board abundantly. We ask that they continue to seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength for all that lies ahead. God, you not only give wisdom to leaders, you are wisdom itself. Give this school board wisdom to steer the schools and the district on the right path. Be with them in their deliberations and help them to be wise in their decisions, that they would make them for the good of all those who have placed their trust and their confidence in their leadership. Give them insight to lead with integrity, that their decisions may reflect what is right and good. Keep them from short-sightedness and pettiness. Help them to make decisions that are good for all of the children of Duval County. Guard them from the blind self-interest of others. Grant them success in their endeavor to provide quality facilities for our children. Your word says that you will protect us from the evil plans of those who oppose the righteous. You have said that our children are an inheritance and of great value. You have reminded us that it would be better to have a millstone tied around your neck and to be thrown into the depths of the sea than to hinder a child. Dear Lord, grant this board humility to always seek your will in all that they do and all that they say. So in your hands I place this meeting, trusting you to lead and guide tonight, to protect our children and our schools in the future. To your praise and to your glory, I pray this in the name of Yeshua. Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight is now time for presentations, and so Board Member Grimes, would you please join Dr. Green? Oh, no, wait, you don't come down yet, I'm sorry.
Whatever
Says
you say.
presentations. I messed up. Arlington Middle School. Principal Daniels, I apologize, and Board Member Grimes is the chair, and you have a presentation for us tonight from Arlington Middle School. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Evan Daniels, and I have the pleasure of serving as the principal of Arlington Middle School. Within the last year, AMS has shifted its focus to include a targeted relationship with school-wide wraparound programs that are multi-tiered, including positive behavior interventions and support programs, our SOAR morning program, after-school, communities in schools, in addition to Achievers for Life. Intentional and strategic shifts in the collective and individual roles of each of these agencies have resulted in a change in both the academic and culture and climate of Arlington Middle School. Arlington Middle School's PBIS system is built into the school-wide discipline program. Through strategic planning and frequent data chats, the positive behavior support methods were frequently adjusted to meet student needs throughout the year. The data trend from 17-18 to 18-19 school years reflected a downward trend in discipline infractions and a significant increase in restorative practices. These restorative practices allowed us to ensure the main thing remained the main thing, an academic focus. With a decrease of student referrals by 27% from 17-18 to 18-19, violent incidences reported to the state indicated a 72% decrease. The reduction of negative climate and culture incidents played a significant role in laying the foundation for an academic focus that produced a significant change in student learning. Traditionally, a service designed for parents who simply needed to drop students off at school early, the SOAR morning program moved from a loosely structured program to a highly structured opportunity for data-informed tutoring. Facilitated by a bilingual ELA and reading teacher, the program provided up to 2 additional hours of instruction before the start of the school day, which allowed students the opportunity to master standards in which additional support was needed. Additionally, teachers were allowed to pull students during the program time to provide an additional layer of support within the specific content areas of need. The after-school program at Arlington Middle provided priority to students who were non-proficient readers and/or students who fell below proficiency in math, as well as civics and 8th grade science target students. This shift allowed our highest academic need population an additional 2 hours of instruction a day. The lead teacher of the after-school program is a reading-endorsed ELA teacher with school-wide access to student data. This data allowed us to target student placement in the areas of highest need. Master teachers in each core area served as our after-school program teachers. This additional academic push provided students an advantage on state assessments as well as individual academic performance. According to a 2017 study on absenteeism by Duke researchers, enrollment in an after-school program reduces absenteeism by an average of 10%. Getting students to come to school is more than half of the battle. Through the after-school program at Arlington Middle, we were able to increase attendance, thereby resulting in increased opportunities to teach and positively affect student learning. Communities in Schools and Achievers for Life are valuable programs in regards to meeting student needs outside of the classroom. At Arlington Middle School, our Achievers for Life and CIS teams have also been instrumental in reducing student absences. Through phone calls, home visits, and providing for needs that keep students from attending school, such as lack of proper clothing or housing, our percentage of students with excessive absences has shown a significant reduction. Our data shows a sharp decrease in absenteeism from the 17-18 school year to the 18-19 school year. During the 17-18 school year, early warning indicators showed that 35.4% of Arlington Middle School students missed more than 18 days of school. On the contrary, during the 18-19 school year, only 8.6% of students missed more than 18 days of school. This 26.8% decrease in absenteeism played a major role in our ability to increase student learning and achievement. Wraparound services have the ability to contribute to the overall academic and cultural growth of a school. When used intentionally and strategically, these programs have the propensity to play an invaluable role in student learning, as evidenced this year in Arlington Middle School's 66-point increase, which happened to be the highest increase among middle schools in the district, in addition to a grade increase from multiple D's to a C. Every agency associated with a school is important to the institution's ability to meet student needs. We are proud of the services our wraparound programs provide to our students. I'm excited about the 1920 school year and beyond as we make data-informed decisions that will positively affect our students' trajectory. Thanks for your time and consideration. Go Team Duval.
Thank you. Member Grimes, I know you probably have some comments. I'm certain that you are proud of Arlington Middle.
Yes, well, I can't, he could probably find some more accolades of things that they're doing, but it certainly, y'all have done, and I know you were very nice to say it was all of you who got you where you are, and I know that y'all will probably be a B this year, and that you sounds like you're doing like all the right things. So we really appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Now, would Board Member Grimes join Dr. Green down front for a presentation?
A polo, a pair of khakis, or even a t-shirt. They're all pieces of clothing that may not seem significant to most, but for some families, just having the means to purchase a school uniform is a challenge. This is where a partnership between the district and CSI Gives Back comes into play. And tonight we wish to recognize a generous $10,000 donation, ensuring that more of our students can focus on academics and not clothing. To give you some background, our school social workers have managed a district clothing closet since 2014. Donors supply new clothing, and the school social workers personally deliver them to students' homes. However, as the need for uniforms has increased, so has the need for support. Last year, CSI Gives Back, which is the nonprofit of the CSI companies, stepped in to help. With this partnership, we've already seen some impressive results. One, CSI Gives Back was able to secure $10,000 in funding thanks to their own partners and an inaugural gala. And two, a local business has agreed to sell uniforms at significantly discounted prices, allowing the district to get the most out of these funds. This will enable Team Duval to purchase hundreds of uniforms, benefiting over 500 students. This isn't the only way in which CSI Gives Back is giving back. The nonprofit has also donated winter coats, and they're gathering school supplies for the fall. Joining us from Team Duval are Executive Director of Discipline and Student Support, Jackie Simmons, Director of School Behavioral Health, Katrina Taylor, Supervisor of School Student Services, Laura Chiarello, and school social workers Susan Merritt, Crystal Baldwin, and Mary Lee McCullough, who all work and manage the clothing closet. And here with us on behalf of CSI Gives Back are Executive Director Becky Lowry, Employee Relations and Board of Directors Secretary Deborah Valentine, Senior Graphic Designer Samantha Sauter, and Digital Marketing Manager Carmela Nazarino. Please help us thank CSI Gives Back for their partnership, their support, and their generous donation.
Did you use your deodorant this morning?
This concludes this evening's presentations.
Approval of the August 6, 2019 agenda, that the Duval County School Board approve the August 6, 2019 agenda as submitted on July 30, 2019 with the following changes. Approval of minutes, item added. Academic services, approval of turnaround school supplemental services, allocation plan, attachments added, item revised. Human Resource Services, cabinet position designations to senior management service class, item withdrawn. Human Resource Services staffing, approval of TPG Cultural Exchange LLC contract, attachment revised. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Board Vice Chair Jones. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote.
Sorry, I'm a little late, so.
That's okay, I have to log back in too.
Drop down.
Oh, now you want me to vote too?
By your actions, you've passed this 7-0. We are on to the chairman's report. School starts next week, and in spite of the thing that seems to be dominating the newspaper with the referendum is this board and district has been hard at work preparing things to be ready for school for the starts next week. And we certainly appreciate the work of the superintendent and the district. I received text messages this morning updating me on repairs that have been done to air conditioners throughout the school district, so that we know that we are prepared and ready to go on day one. Just briefly in my time now, I would just like to mention the J bill that was submitted by Representative Jason Fisher. This board will discuss this in depth and respond appropriately at the Duval delegation meeting on August 30th. I will just right now say I am perplexed and concerned that in this bill where it says state specifically why this legislation cannot be accomplished at the local level, the response is this legislation needs to be decided upon by the Florida State Legislature. I am concerned that this bill takes away the right of local citizens to weigh in and vote on those they choose to represent them. I am concerned that this bill has an opportunity to be passed in Tallahassee without any local input. This could be passed and sent back and without being sent back as a referendum for voters to weigh in on at the local level. That's what concerns me about this J bill, is the stripping away of voters' right to choose those who represent them. But conversation will be had later by this board through workshops, and I'm sure heartfelt conversations as we work to respond and make our presentation to the Duval delegation on October 30th. Dr. Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My presentation will be a little bit about what's happened over the last few weeks and about things that are going to happen over the next few weeks. Last year, at my first board meeting, I did a presentation on what were my priorities, and last year, these were the same 3 priorities. Until I accomplish them all, then they won't, I'll choose other priorities. But The board has created a district strategic plan, which I do want to just give a quick reminder that that strategic plan has an end date of 2019-2020. So we are in the last year of our strategic plan. And the three priorities really fall into that strategic plan: moving to an A district, safety and security of schools, and financial solvency. As it relates to moving to an A district, we talk a lot about that the district is 1 percentage point away from an A. And what I try to help people understand is 1 percentage point is actually 11 points. And now we're down to 4. So we moved 7, and now we need to move 4 more points. And we truly believe that this school year is our year to overcome those 4 points plus more. At the last principal meeting, although I was at a training myself, district senior leadership presented to the principals about the A destination, that we are already on the path. Now we have to get to that destination. And so we talked about different things for each grade span. So our elementary schools, we want to maintain that great movement. Believe it or not, we had 43 schools, and this does include charter schools, that moved up a letter grade. That's probably the most the district has done in a very long time. And we had our highest number of A schools this year for the first time. And we just need to maintain that momentum. I think one of the criticisms we get is that schools do the yo-yo. They go up, then they go down, they go up and go down. Our goal is, how do we maintain that momentum? And we're talking about making sure that we go back and retrain on MTSS, multi-tiered support system, for all students, for our students that need acceleration, for our average students, to our struggling students, to our students with disabilities, that we are making sure that we are covering the gamut and providing the needed services for all students. We've talked about this 3-phase instruction for ELA, that students, every student is not the same, but that they really can be identified through 3 phases. They need instruction on their instructional level. So you may have a student in 3rd grade, but instructionally they're functioning as a 2nd grader, and we can't ignore that, and we need to address that level of instruction. But every day they need to always have on grade level instruction, and that's why we've been focusing on standards-based instruction, focusing on the standards that are our Florida standards, and making sure that our instruction and activities meet the level of those standards. And then extended. Some students need beyond grade level. They need, and many times that's done in science and social studies. So most science and social studies textbooks are written at a higher than grade level. And a lot of that comes from the vocabulary that is used in those content areas, such as science and social studies. So we want to ensure that we are providing that instruction for you can be at an A school, but yet for many of our A schools, when we look at their data, it's their bottom quartile that's not moving. And that means we're not addressing those students' areas of deficiencies or areas of support for them. And by doing this 3-phase, making sure we cover that every day for students, then we're going to take care of that student who's above grade level, we're going to take care of the student who's at grade level, and we're going to take care of students who are below grade level, but making sure always that we are exposing all students to on grade level standards. We're reviewing, and it says fixed science. It really isn't fixed science. We're reviewing our curriculum guides. We're reviewing everything that we're doing in the area of science, because that is an area where we dropped. We dropped in 5th and 8th grade science, and we needed to figure out what led to that drop. Now, I will tell you, there's many times that you're not going to be able to find that exact answer. One, because we don't see the test. So all we can look at is what we call clusters, areas of science. Okay, last year, the year before, we were at this level when it talks about inquiry science, but this year we're below that. So now, okay, we need to do something about inquiry science, but it doesn't exactly tell you what within inquiry science would we have to fix. We're looking at a two-phase instruction for math. We actually do very well in math, but we can still do better, and it's for the students who are in the bottom quartile. Our proficiency has continued to get better each year. Middle school is a little different in that those students who are on grade level or above grade level, they're taking generally accelerated courses, which usually means an end of course exam. So your students who are taking the 6th grade math, 7th grade math, and 8th grade math, these are students that may be just below grade level or just average students. And we did discuss at a workshop that we were going to purchase a supplemental math textbook for students this year, and that's what we're going to work on. Middle school, unfortunately, we made some movement. We had some middle schools drop to a D grade, and so again, we're going back to look at the areas that they all had in common. They all had in common Algebra 1. Every school that dropped to a school grade of D, with the exception of one, their Algebra 1 made a huge drop. Every single school that dropped to a D, their science made a huge drop. And those schools also, not all of them, but most of them had huge drops in civics. And so we're going back to address those schools. Between Mr. Green and myself, we are going to have a little more interaction with the school principals of these schools to ensure that we tighten up those areas and ensure that all middle schools are going to be moving forward. Our high schools, there are steady eddies. They've been ABCs for the last 5 years, and they still, but we want to remain steady eddies. I do want to remind the board that, and Mr. Wright, correct me, is it in 2 years PERC will no longer be available?
It's the current rising 10th graders.
The current rising 10th graders. I don't want anybody to forget that, because with that assessment being taken away, it has a huge impact in our grad rate. Our grad rate could be impacted at upwards to 10%. So right now, we're sitting at 85%. We're working with our high school principals to try to mitigate that as much as possible, but that is something that is very disconcerting, and they've not made a change in it. District, we want to continue to provide strong support. Academic services being more involved in the principal meetings, operations staff, president-principal meetings. Sometimes our principals are worried about other things, and we want to make sure that if we have operations, president-principal meetings, we can try to address those issues as quickly as possible so that they can spend the bulk of their time focused on teaching and learning at their schools. The regions, we're going to start I was getting ready to say cross-pollinating, but I don't think that's really what we're doing. We're going to work more collaboratively together. So we have our schools split up in regions, and sometimes it was region to region, and you should never cross the regions. And so now we're going to do some things working collaboratively so that we can take strategies that we're using in one region that's really working well and making sure the other region can use those strategies. So we have a plan for the A destination. Some of the things that's new in academic services, again, we can see as a district our bottom quartile, those two areas, bottom quartile reading, bottom quartile math, are areas where the district is still below 50%. And 50% is not exactly putting the world on fire, but it's even more concerning that we're below 50%. And so we've made some investments in research-based materials that we are going to support every single school, not just our Title I schools, but all elementary schools will now have that instructional level resource materials for ELA/reading. So we have SRA and LLI. For math, We now have purchased our math middle school supplemental math material, as well as Math 180 for students that are level 1 and level 2, really struggling in the area of math. Science, we've aligned our curriculum scope and sequence with our PENDA software program that we are using in science in elementary and middle, and we are redoing our quarterly assessments. We need data that's going to inform instruction. We just don't need data just to say, oh, we have this information. We need data that's going to be helpful to teachers to say, you know what, my students don't understand these 3 standards. What can I do to go back to support students in reteaching or and the district needs it so that we make sure our curriculum guides are appropriately aligned. So some kudos we want to give. I just stated that 43 of our schools moved up a letter grade, but we do want to recognize 4 schools that had 2 letter grade increases. We have Ortega Elementary going from C to A, Venetia Elementary C to A, St. Clair Evans Elementary, just want to continue to remind people that is the elementary school that had 3 stray bullets pierce the window. They went from D to B, and Hyde Park went from F to C. And we are very proud of those schools for the tremendous increase in gains that they've made moving up 2 letter grades. Want me to connect to okay, Ortega and Venetia is in Miss Joyce.
In Hyde Park.
In Hyde Park. Oh, Miss Joyce has 3 of the 4. Yes, she does. Ortega, you have 1, Mr. Willie. Okay. You got 1 too. So, but every board member district had schools that went up at least 1 letter grade. How about that? So
Thank you for making us feel better.
Yes, everybody had the schools that went up at least 1 letter grade.
I want 3 up.
Safety and security, as you know, has been very important, and it's been a major priority. Want to talk about, as you know, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission. We are in the middle of the grand jury, and the grand jury has been requesting information from school districts, and Duval is no exception. We had to submit information. Actually, it was due today, and we submitted our first level of information, and now next week we will be asked for a second level of information. But here are reminders that when you're out in schools and you hear from constituents, why are we doing this? Just need to remind that drills, we are to have 1 fire drill once a month. That has been in law for a very long time. But it is also in law that we must have 1 active shooter drill once a month. So for it must be the same as you perform fire drills, and because we perform fire drills once a month, then active shooter drills will be once a month. So you may get constituents saying, why do we have to do this? And it's by statute. Videos, we have the active shooter video should be shown to all staff at the start of the school year. That is a requirement. And the run, hide, fight video should be shown all 3rd through 5th. Please remember that parents do have the ability to opt out, but we are required to show the videos. Our safety site content and information, we are required to document our fire drills, and we are required to document now our active shooter drills. We're also required to document our threat assessment team meetings. And just in case you didn't know, there's a requirement there that they meet once a month. This last year was the first year of implementing, and I will tell you, technical assistance came at various stages throughout the year, and our goal is that we are going to be fully in compliance with every single requirement of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission and the laws that changed under that commission. Just some reminders that things that we're going to be reminding our schools. We're required to implement hard corners. We're required to have them marked. We're required to have the door coverings at least above the door. They don't have to be down, but making sure that those are in place. We are also required to do a walkthrough assessment of every school, and I believe Executive Director Edwards, we are complete. We are complete. We have done our walkthroughs for 100% of our schools, and we are moving forward with the grant on the hardening of schools that we received last year. Our grant was about cameras, the visitor badging system that is now in place in all of our schools. So please do not be dismayed if you're not wearing a name tag without a picture. If you come to a school, they're going to ask you, please check in roster, and it'll print out a badge for you with your picture. And so please don't show up to schools without your driver's license, because we're making sure it doesn't matter who's coming. If they're not wearing a DCPS badge where you can truly see their face and the person's identified, we're asking, please follow the procedures. So just want to make sure that everyone truly knows that they are very serious about compliance to these new laws, and we want to send that message that we're equally serious. Another piece that just came from the state board meeting was now students in grades 6 through 12 must have 5 hours of mental health training. Under our plan, we have created what we call Wellness Wednesdays, Hope for Healing, Florida. This is our program on our early release days. So we have one early release day now per month. Our students in grades 6 through 12 will receive mental health and substance abuse prevention lessons on early release, and we've called them Wellness Wednesdays. The program components, it will be 10 30-minute lessons on the early release days. We will also have parent activities. These are like conversation starters and activities. And remember, it's for students in grades 6 through 12, so don't ask your second grader. This is a requirement for our older students. And then we'll also have employee resources, wellness information for our employees. We have created, and I really want to thank Ms. Taylor and her team and working with the committee on jumping on this right away. We have our parent flyers that we are asking our schools to post and send home. So it tells parents about what is Wellness Wednesday. It is mental health instruction during early release Wednesdays throughout the 2019-20 school year. Why? It is in response to state legislation, but the goal of the Mental Health Education Initiative is to teach students to identify signs and symptoms of mental health challenges and how to access help for themselves and their peers. So hopefully we will make sure that each of you get a flyer so that if you're asked, you now have information. And we just want to show a quick video.
We are just days away from the start of the new school year, and I am more hopeful than ever about the progress Team Duval is making in addressing mental health. It's especially important that we share a new resource we'll be bringing to your classrooms this school year. I could tell you more, but I think it would be best if you heard it from two of our leaders.
Greetings, teachers. We know that each of you are committed to inspiring and preparing our students for success.
As we prepare for a new school year, we're excited to share tools that we believe will help enhance the social-emotional well-being of all students.
We're talking about Wellness Wednesdays. We'll be providing you with resources and instructional materials developed by Team Duval. It all aligns with the state's recent ruling and will teach students how to identify signs and symptoms of mental health challenges and show students how to get help for themselves and for their peers.
This is important because 1 in 5 children between the ages of 13 and 18 currently have or will have a serious mental illness. 50% of all mental illness cases begin by the age of 14, and less than 20% of children with mental illness receive the treatment that they need.
It's why we're being proactive now, committing to see our students through their successes and their challenges. After all, mental health instruction is key in supporting our families and addressing the whole child.
Wellness Wednesdays will take place each early release day of the school year, beginning August 28th. We will provide 10 30-minute scripted lessons that include a video introduction, as well as developmentally appropriate teacher-facilitated activities.
This instruction is required and will focus on awareness of signs and symptoms, processes for students looking to get help for themselves and others, awareness of resources, and what to do or say to peers struggling with mental health disorders.
And don't worry, these materials will be easy to access. You'll get everything via OneNote in the Curriculum Guides tab of OneView with the title Wellness Wednesday.
It's extremely important to me that we continue to find ways to take things off our teachers' plates. This is why we will be creating these very important mental health lessons for our secondary students. Team Duval, I'm looking forward to this intentional focus on student well-being. Wellness Wednesdays have great potential to increase student achievement, positively impact school climate and culture, and improve the overall performance of our schools. Thank you for your continued commitment and enthusiasm for creating happier, healthier learners, and to be sure to stay tuned for much more on Wellness Wednesdays.
So, as you heard in the video, we will start our first Wellness Wednesday on August 28th, and materials are being prepared as we speak and will be ready for teachers to have well in advance of their first delivery of lessons. Our last slide is on financial solvency, and that last year that was one of our goals, to truly get to a point where we have a balanced budget and that we get back to the 5% unassigned fund balance. We are making great strides of getting back to that point, so much so that this year we were able to reduce the class size for each grade span. So last year, for grades K to 3, our class size was 1 to 19.5, and this year we've reduced it by 1 to 18.5. 4 through 8, last year it was 1 to 23.5, this year it's 1 to 22.5. 9 through 12, last year it was 1 to 26.5, and this year it's 1 to 26. As you can see, the number of teachers in the grade spans, last year it was 4,815 teachers. By making that slight change to each grade span, we now have increased it to 5,001 teachers. And so you can see by each level, elementary, that change produced 123 additional classroom positions, middle school 31 additional classroom positions, high school virtual alternative 32, for a grand total of 186 positions. So our goal is to continue to work through the process and making sure that we meet the class size amendment. And because we are a school district of choice, that is why it is an average. It is not the exact 1 to 18. We must meet the average of 1 to 18 in grades K to 3, 1 to 22, grades 4 through 8, and 1 to 25 for high school. I'm sorry, my report was a little lengthy.
Well, mine was very short.
Okay,
so
okay, I took your minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Green. We are now on to the public comments portion of our meeting tonight. Those wishing to address the board must fill out blue speaker cards. The school board welcomes your comments on matters that are before the board for consideration. It is not the board's intent to respond this evening, but to use the input in our deliberations. To give everyone appropriate respect and courtesy, we ask the audience to refrain from audible comments or applause. When you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. When the green light in front of me starts blinking, you will have a minute remaining. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds remaining. When it turns red and the buzzer sounds, your time will be up. If your concerns exceed the time, you may present written comments to the board. You are asked to refrain from references to specific individuals and to follow expectations for civil discourse. Please remember the speaker cards were accepted until 6:20 p.m. Thank you for taking time to address the board. Our first speaker tonight is Katie Kiefaber, followed by Terrell Campbell.
Good evening. My name is Katie Kiefaber, and I would like to thank the Duval County Public School Board for listening to myself and some of my peers discuss how our school district benefits from Teach for America. I have known for a long time that I wanted to be a teacher. I went to the University of Delaware to receive a bachelor's degree in secondary education in biology. Through my multiple student teaching placements, I saw the vast disparity between Title I schools and other schools that were in the same district. This year will now be my 4th as a science teacher at Matthew Gilbert, the same as my original placement school with Teach for America. My students are full of potential, and I'm proud of the role I've played in helping them achieve this potential. My most recent students started out their baseline 5% below the district average, yet by the year's end, they scored 5% above the district average on their end of course exam. Throughout my career as a teacher, Teach for America has provided professional development and one-on-one coaching in a way unlike any leadership development organization I'm aware of. This helped me as a new teacher in Jacksonville. It is in part because of Teach for America's extensive support and our collaborative commitment to our students that Matthew Gilbert's school grade has been raised to and maintained to a C. Last year, approximately 1/3 of our teaching staff, as well as 2 assistant principals, were either current TFA core members or alumni. Not only has this network of teachers and staff helped our school grade improve, we have started programs that expand our students' thinking and opportunities, such as creating a green team and recycling club, a bike team, and showcasing students' talent in a Black History Month celebration. I am proud that we have a lot of staff from TFA at my school, but as a collective, I know we are all proud to identify ourselves as part of the Matthew Gilbert community. We need Teach for America in Duval County Public Schools so that every school, every classroom, every student, every day is actually a goal that we are driving towards. Thank you.
Thank you. Terrell Campbell.
All right, good evening, board members and all in attendance. First, let me say thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and briefly share my passion and story. My name is Terrell Campbell, and Jacksonville is my home. I entered education as a way to honor the legacy of my family, to give back to my community, and to help support a healthy Jacksonville, as no great city can exist without an excellent education system. My grandfather was Clanzel T. Brown, and he worked tirelessly to help support and uplift all of the communities of Jacksonville. My family instilled in me the importance of education and effectively collaborating with individuals and other entities that promote the greatest good for the greatest number of people. I immediately knew that Teach for America was the perfect match based on their dedication to diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. As a teacher previously, TFA worked tirelessly to help me reach my full potential, not only as an educator, but as a great steward of my community. TFA connected me to community members and organizations that expanded and improved upon my impact from the 4 walls that were in my classroom to let me see the effects of education from a holistic view. TFA's professional development cycle and relentless work to collaboratively work with all stakeholders has distinguished this partnership as a pillar of the community. Today, as a dean at Mandarin Middle School, the lessons and support of TFA have allowed me to work with the leadership team and the faculty to transform our school's climate and culture data and statistics to some of the very best in Duval County Public Schools. This work has in turn allowed us to return to the ranks of an A-rated school, and all of those foundations were laid with my work at TFA. So thank you for allowing myself and the other speakers tonight to kind of be proof points for you today that TFA is effective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kelly Ranch, followed by Dennis Scott.
Thank you, and I apologize for my tardiness. My name is Kelly Ranch, and I reside at 8958 Polk Avenue. And I wanted to share that, even though we're not required to share our addresses, because I'm a proud member of District 4. I also taught 29 of my 35 years in District 4 schools. This week is a joyful week for me. I get to work in my classroom, reconnect with colleagues, and meet new staff members as well. When I think about, again, this is going to be my 36th year coming into what has been my only source of employment, and that's Duval County Public Schools, the past 35 years since 1984. I think back as well to joy, and I think back to when my son, James, was in school at Lake Forest Elementary School, and I entered him as an art magnet student. And it was joyful with the arts that he got, certainly, but what impressed me even more was his teachers. And I know I can't name them by name, but 5 of the teachers in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, his art teacher and his dance teacher all still impact his life today. The 5 teachers that impacted my son's life had more than 100 years collective experience between them. And we know what keeps great teachers, and we know who stays, those who have a passion for their craft, and those who are skilled in both the art and science of education. You know, not everybody will do what I do and stay for 35 years. And I respect the colleagues who went before me with Teach for America, nice people. But I need to respectfully disagree with the direction that Teach for America is the solution for the lack of retention that we have, particularly in District 4 and District 5 schools. When I think about what I read in the newspaper, that the district is going to spend $9,000 per teacher for TFA, I'm trying to think of how $9,000 could go to retain teachers. I look at TFA, I study the websites carefully, I do research on TFA, and Teach for America treats its people well. Why could we not consider then relocation costs for teachers if we're looking for ways to retain teachers, graduate school tuition, and even loan forgiveness? These are all TFA practices that may help retain instead of hope that folks will stay past 2 years. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Denise Scott, followed by Keto Porter. I'm sorry, Denise, if I said Dennis first, I apologize.
Great evening, everybody. I'm Denise Scott. I'm here to speak briefly about the half-cent sales tax referendum and a couple other things. The city is asking for transparency, like where will you begin spending the money and where will the project start? So I'm asking this board to please let the city know that the spending should start where the schools have been neglected the most and where the most need is, and that's in districts 4 and 5. Also, please let the city know that it's not I don't think, that it's DCPS's responsibility to upgrade or promote charter schools. Please do not hire Mr. Moser or anyone else that would extort money from this board, especially at a cost of $450,000. The board wants loyalty from the people that are in the schools, but loyalty goes both ways. DCPS is losing quality people because I don't think you really know your people. In the June meeting, Dr. Green, you made it perfectly clear that the decisions of placing people are made by you. I believe that if you knew the full picture or if you spent more time in the schools, some of the decisions that are being made wouldn't seem like they're being made in haste. If everyone on this board spent an entire week in a school as a teacher, a para, a principal, or even as a cafeteria worker or a custodian, you would have a different perspective on how things are done on the front line. Decisions shouldn't be made that are perhaps personal or that they don't have the children's best interests at heart, or the children are not given priority number 1. Children at all schools need that educational excellence that you speak about in your vision. I also need to mention that closing those 2 failing schools won't solve the problem. It just moves those children from one school to another school. I realize that the parental support is a major factor in any child's success, but we need strong leadership in those schools. That leadership that would give a voice for the children, for their parents, and compassionate teachers and caring teachers. That's what's needed.
Thank you. Keto Porter.
Good evening. Again, my name is Keto Porter. I serve as the Full Service Schools Director for United Way of Northeast Florida, and I would just like to take the time to thank Superintendent Green and each of you board members for your continued support of full service schools and the providers that are providing therapeutic services to our students within Duval County Public Schools. We're extremely excited to now be able to provide mental health services in all 160 Duval County Public Schools as of October of last year. And through our partnership with the district as well as Kids Hope Alliance, actually providing 40 dedicated therapists in our high need schools. I also want to take the time to thank Sunita Young, Jackie Simmons, Karen Chastain, as well as Katrina Taylor for their continuous guidance as we continue to refine policies and procedures to really make sure that we're getting the rich services from our providers and their touches with our students that are in need of mental health services. While we're still in the gathering of data for our end of year data, what I would like to say is that we received over 7,000 full service schools referrals this past year, with 4,500 of them being for mental health services. So again, we've done great work. There's much more to be done, and we just look to continue our partnership with the district as we continue to try to serve the comprehensive needs of students and families within Duval County. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We are now on to comments from parent organizations. Is there anyone here from a parent organization wishing to address the board?
Good evening, Chairperson Hershey, school board members, Dr. Green. My name is Teresa Rogers, and I am the new president of the Duval County Council of PTAs and PTSAs, and I'm reporting here tonight on behalf of DCC PTA. The DCC has been hard at work all summer, including attending the Florida PTA Leadership Convention in July. In addition, we have been conducting trainings for local unit presidents, treasurers, and other PTA leaders to ensure they are apprised of PTA, DCPS, and IRS rules and ready to handle the responsibilities of their positions this upcoming year. We will be offering further professional development opportunities for our PTAs at our upcoming workshop in September. We will also be hosting a series of lunch and learns and micro trainings and munchies, all designed to diversify and improve the skill sets of our local unit leaders and go more in depth on topics that are of concern and interest to families. We are also very pleased to be partnering with Parent Academy this year and are teaching several classes through Parent Academy that we hope will be of interest to PTAs, but of course are open to any interested parent groups. Lastly, I want to emphasize the commitment DCC PTA has to helping to advocate and to teach and empower our families to advocate for our public schools. In May, our board voted to support the half-cent tax referendum, and we are taking a resolution of support to our general membership. Last year, we had 24,101 PTA members in Duval County, a number we believe can be even larger this year. The love and pride our children, their parents and caregivers, even extended families and alumni feel for the neighborhood schools and magnet schools here in Duval County should not be underestimated by anyone. We are child advocates, and we are here to work and fight for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other person from a parent organization wishing to address the board? Is there anyone from an employee organization? I thought I saw Mr. Stovall hiding back there.
ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Green. I'll start with the news has been dominated with images of maintenance issues at Duval County Schools. I want to use some of my time to make sure that people know that these problems are not, emphasis on not, the result of our maintenance staff. To the contrary, the Council of Great City Schools has recognized our maintenance workers repeatedly over the last several years as having high turnaround times, very efficient work order resolution, and in some instances being the best maintenance department in the nation in certain categories. I know that Dr. Green and all of her presentations and the board members that I've sat in have all been very clear that I'm not saying that any of you have ever put it back. In fact, I appreciate the fact that most of you, when the subject comes up, are very clear that it's not a result of our employees, but some people don't. And for anybody that's here tonight or anybody that's, that's listens to this, I want to make sure that those people know. That deferred maintenance backlog that we hear about is not deferred because we're not willing to do it. And I say we because that's the men and women of the IBW. It has nothing to do with we're not willing to do it. It's that the money has not been there. We all know that. And it comes from higher up. It comes from, I'm not supposed to say names, but I'll say, you know what? Jason Fisher sat right here and told us that he would not support increased wages for any union other than teachers. Those kind of talks, those kind of actions, they trickle down over the years, and what we've seen is a gradual erosion of our maintenance staff in the sense that it's getting harder and harder to find good people. There's an extreme construction boom in the area, and it's getting harder and harder to find good people. Our wages have not kept up with the outside industry, and so that has added to the inability to hire new people as our experienced workforce starts to retire. And this has gone back several years. So again, I thank the ones that I've heard numerous times recognize that it's not the fault of our workers. We, in fact, whenever they see those things like the water pipe busting and those are our guys that go out and respond to those emergencies, sometimes in the middle of the night. But those problems that you're seeing definitely speak to the need for this sales tax increase. Our children need these schools to be repaired. They need to be taken care of. But one thing I will put back on the board, and you hear me say it all the time, and I'm not going to miss my opportunity to say it once again, the very, very high amount of subcontracting that we do in the Duval County Public Schools to private companies to do the exact same work that our maintenance staff are able and willing to do. If you go back 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, you will see that we have quite fewer staff in our maintenance and warehouse departments, and those staff have been gradually replaced by subcontracting it out. The problem with that is we're paying those subcontractors more than we're paying our own people. And I still have yet to understand the process of throwing good money after bad, because we're paying those workers more than we're paying our own employees. We're paying a middleman. We're paying a manager. We're making someone's getting a profit off of it. And all the while, I'm sitting here asking you to bring our workers up to what the outside industry is making. So thank you for that. One other last little thing. Again, I talk to you all the time about wanting to, I represent our electrical apprenticeship here in Jacksonville, the Electrical Training Alliance. And you see my shirt on today. And I don't know if you noticed, but I got Baker County High School colors on because they're going into their third year of our apprenticeship program in their school. We also started Oakleaf High School in Clay County this year, as well as Fernandina Beach High School. And FSCJ has now implemented our program. They're teaching a day class and a night class with our program. I've had numerous conversations, and I think that we're working on something with A. Philip Randolph, but I would definitely like any help that you guys can give us on trying to expedite that process a little bit better. I know there's been I understand there's a lot of other things going on right this moment, but if there's anything you can do, we would love to, to bring our program to the Duval County schools and help bring kids, no college debt. You come out of our program 5 years, you're making a good living wage, health insurance, pension, the whole 9 yards, and no college debt. So thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you. Anyone from the employee organization wishing to address the board? We are on to approval of minutes. The Duval County School Board approved the minutes for the meetings listed in the agenda item. June 17, 2019 Master Board Training, June 24, 2019 Board Workshop, July 2nd, 2019 Regular Board Meeting, July 8, 2019 Board Member Meeting Hershey Anderson, July 9, 2019 Board Workshop, July 15, 2019 Board Workshop and Committee Meeting, July, did I say the 15th? I looked up.
Not yet.
All right, I'll just read it again. July 15, 2019 Board Workshop and Committee Meeting, July 16 City Council Finance Committee Meeting, July 16 City Council Rules Committee Meeting, July 18, 2019 Board Members Meeting, July 23, 2019 Emergency Board Meeting, July 23, 2019 Special Board Meeting. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
It was moved by Vice Chair Jones and seconded by Board Member Grimes. Any discussion? I would just like to say that that's a lot of meetings, and we've been at work doing a lot of things other than the one thing that continues to dominate the news, and I just appreciate the work of this board and commitment to show up and do the work. Anyway, I call for your vote. By our actions, we have passed this 7-0. We are on to approval of consent agenda. Are there any items to be placed on the consent agenda? Are there any items for discussion? Is there a motion?
Move. Second.
As moved by Vice Chair Jones and seconded by
Other way
Board
around.
Member Smith-Warras. Is there any discussion? I call for your vote. By our actions, we've passed this 7-0. A consent with comments, Human Resource Services Staffing, approval of contract with Teach for America 2019, 2020 through 2021, 22. Board Member Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Hershey. I wanted to just bring up this item because I think that this is a conversation that we've had several times. I know we've heard from constituents about it. We've heard about it tonight. And I wanted to have an opportunity to discuss or at least share from the superintendent, if you don't mind, why this was a recommendation that came to us and how we landed here.
Through the chair to Board Member Anderson, we made a conscious decision to bring Teach for America for two reasons. Number one, after surveying our principals, the number one group of principals that felt TFA was working for them were our secondary principals. Those are Title I secondary schools where TFA was able to place teachers into positions that we were not being successful in finding candidates for those teaching positions. Number two, when I spoke with TFA, and I said to them, we just cannot do this in our lowest performing schools anymore. We have to, our data shows that the more experience they have, the better their VAM scores are, the better consistency we have. These children need to have consistent teachers who will be there more than just 2 years. I can't, that's all you're guaranteeing me, is that they will be here for 2 years. And I know you have a program that tries to extend their retention to stay in teaching, but that for our school district, we felt TFA best fit for secondary schools, and that we wanted to do our very best to have our more experienced teachers in our schools that struggle the most, and that's our elementary schools. And then the third part of the conversation, which is kind of tangential to this, is that my concern, and I've been very open and honest, is that we've had people who have been dedicated to Duval County Public Schools for many, many years. They may have been like me. I joined Duval County Public Schools 2 days after I graduated from UNF. Now, I left, but many of them didn't leave. Many of them stayed committed to Duval County Public Schools, and they should. I was about growing our own into administration, and and I wanted to say, if we're going to do TFA, I want it focused on filling positions for our high schools and middle schools that have a need, that are Title I and hard to reach areas. I also want to add to this that we do have other contracts. This isn't the only contract that we're using to hire teachers. We have a contract that is on the agenda tonight that is going to help us hire ESE teachers, which is another area we are struggling to find qualified personnel. And I think 2 months ago you approved another contract to hire additional teachers. But we are supporting this particular recommendation because we've limited the scope of what we were focused on. We now can be very strategic in looking at the data of how these classrooms of students are moving and how they will be successful. The second thing is that they do have incredible professional development. There's no doubt about that. And we want to continue to have that partnership, and that we want to hopefully retain these individuals for longer than 2 years, even though the contract, that's the main commitment.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I do want to say that finding teachers for some of these positions is very challenging. And I am grateful to Teach for America for the additional support that they provide, the additional professional development that they provide for teachers, because there are a lot of things we can do, and there are a lot of things we should do to recruit and to retain our staff. And I'm committed to making that happen too, and continue to put pressure so that we are taking care of our staff. I think that working with Teach for America and their ability to meet us in the middle on some of these items, I appreciate the superintendent and really making sure that this is a program that works for Duval. I hope that as we move forward and we look at that 2-year piece, that we are able, I know that you're working on being able to create a program so that we can encourage those staff to stay with us. If we are investing in them, of course, we want to be able to get a good return on that investment. But I just want to say that this was not a decision that was made lightly. We had a lot of conversation about it. I know I personally had multiple conversations with both TFA and district staff. And I think that as we move forward, I hope that this is a partnership that continues to be fruitful for us and keeps those staff that we've nurtured here. So I thank you for your work. Thank you, Superintendent Green, for your work and getting this to be the right fit for us.
Anyone else wishing to comment?
Just want to, first of all, thank you for the folks from Teach for America who came up to speak. Of course, I'm very well aware of what Teach for America does from my former position, but I think we are in the situation now where we have to think about both supply and demand and instruction and instructors. And at the end of the day, we need both. We have an issue with supply and demand. That's not just a Duval County issue. That's something happening across the state and across the country. So I think when you have a group who's ready to, number one, who can pass the test, who is ready to raise their hand and go into the schools that are harder to staff, I think it's important that we take a look at that. And I appreciate this board for taking a hard look at that. And now we're in a relationship, and I think that's what it's all about. Dr. Green mentioned the back and forth. And I think it's a both and. It's a, let's look at Teach for America, but let's look at all these other programs that we're also bringing in. It needs to be a diverse portfolio, not only for HR, but you talk to principals and they want to see, like, I want the pool to be as big as possible so they can select who they want to select. And I think this actually does that for principals, actually puts them in a better place to be able to do that. So we're in a good place, and I'm excited about the continuation of the partnership and excited where the place we are right now. So.
Anyone else wishing to make a comment? I was just going to add, I want Ms. Ranch, who spoke earlier against TFA, to know that I was one very hesitant. I shared with Dr. Green, I think just yesterday, that I had just recently made up my mind on how I was going to vote with THA, because I have struggled, because we've had conversations before. But as board member Willie just shared, it's part of a big picture and trying to staff. I do like the fact that there were some adjustments made, and this is not like a 10-year contract. It just goes through 2022, so it's renewable, and it's certainly not putting these new teachers in classrooms where more experienced educators are needed. The other thing is I had a conversation with someone, and I mentioned Teach for America, not knowing that their daughter had participated in Teach for America. So he shared with me her background, her experience, and that was really, to tell you the truth, what swayed me was that personal testimony from a parent who had a daughter who participated in the program. So I think we're headed in the right direction with this, and I think taking it step by step and looking at it as a way to staff all of our classrooms and to have a teacher in the classroom versus a substitute on the first day is what is important. We are now to the public hearing and vote revisions to Chapter 5 board policies. Dr. Green, would you like to read that? Yes. Oh, do you have that page? Here.
Yeah, okay, because I was like, I didn't even know.
You got it.
Okay, thank you. That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt the recommended revisions to the following policies in School Board Manual Chapter 5. Number 1, Policy 5.28, Zero Tolerance for School-Related Crimes. Number 2, Policy 5.29, School Environmental Safety Incident Reporting.
I open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Vice Chair Jones. Is there any board member wishing to comment? Seeing none, I call for your vote. Our actions, we've passed this 7-0. Board member travel. That the Duval County School Board approve and confirm the travel listed below for the official business of the district, and that it complies with the rules of the State Board of Education. September 25 through 28, Miami, Florida, National School Board Association Annual Council of Urban Boards of Education Conference. Anderson, Smith Juarez, and Willie. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? I was just seeing if he was. Okay. All right. So I don't think somebody got up, and I wasn't sure if they were leaving or if they were coming up here to speak. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
As moved by Board Member Anderson and seconded by Vice Chair Jones.
Chairman Hershey, I believe we might need an amendment to the item. I think Board Member Grimes indicated that she's going and she's missing, or is it on the agenda item?
Or was it approved previously? Was it approved previously?
Yes, we do need to add.
Okay.
So if someone could, you could make the motion yourself, if you'd like, Board Member Grimes, to amend it to add your name to the
I would
travel.
offer amendment that we add Board Member Grimes to the travel.
Second.
It's moved by Vice Chair Jones that Board Member Grimes be added to this trip as well, seconded by Board Member Anderson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote.
And board members, this is the vote on the amendment to add
Yes,
Board Member
we're
Grimes.
voting for the amendment to allow Board Member Grimes to go, and then we will vote on
The
the
item.
original.
Thank you.
Yes. We're not going to that one. No, I'm going to Council Grace Resources in October. By your actions, Board Member Grimes gets to go to the Council of Urban Board of Education. It is passed 7-0. We are now voting for the original item, Anderson, Smith, Juarez, and Willie to attend the Council Urban Board of Education Conference in Miami.
As amended with the addition of Board Member Grimes.
Yes.
Thank you, guys, for
So,
letting me go.
call for your vote. This item has passed 7-0. We are actually at For the Record, believe it or not. I'm going to start with Board Member Anderson.
Thanks. I first want to say congratulations to many of my schools. About 75% of my schools in District 2 were A schools. So big congratulations to you. 5 schools moved from a B to an A. Fletcher High School, Seabreeze, Sable Palm, Mayport Middle, and Abbas Park all were able to bring up their grades. So I'm very, very excited about that. That's a lot of hard work and dedication and persistence. So great job. I also want to reiterate the excitement that I have about being able to reduce that class size. I know that there have been, and we've heard many times, that budget season can be really, really tough, but I appreciate Dr. Green's commitment to looking at those class sizes and making sure that our children are in reasonable classes as often as possible. That's an important part of their well-being and the well-being of our teachers and staff as well. 138 new teachers, I think is what it was. So 183 maybe. That's a lot. 183. That's a lot of staff. So when we're looking at how are we going to recruit teachers, and we look at the portfolio of the ways that we have to recruit teachers, that's one of the reasons why it's important for us to really be able to pick and choose and to make partnerships with some of these organizations, because we do have a need. When you look at our vacancies, because with that reduction of class size, I think it looks like our vacancies are, out of control, but it's because we need more staff because we're trying to do the right thing by kids. So thank you to the staff for making that happen, and to the state for giving us a little bit of extra money so that we could make that happen. We could use more. Please don't be mistaken. Really excited about Wellness Wednesdays. Thank you so much to all of the staff that have worked on that. I think this is a really exciting time to focus on the well-being of our students and our staff. Something that I talk about often is preventative mental health care. We talk a lot about illness, but I think it's important for us to make a shift and think about our mental health, our mental well-being, and it requires a proactive prevention, and this is one of those ways that we can do that. If we are referring children, I'm so grateful to KHA and United Way for our partnership on full-service schools, but if we have children with serious problems that require referral to individual counseling, we've got a problem. And so what are we doing as a district on the front end to be preventative and to put in these upfront measures, and it's clear that the district is committed to doing that. And as a mental health counselor, I'm very grateful to be a part of this transition for our students and for our staff. Beaches Watch was a great turnout. Thank you to everybody that came out. We had a wonderful community meeting. It has been very busy this month, as it usually is. And I want to just continue to say, please continue to stay engaged. We have a lot going on politically that requires advocates. That requires people to stay informed, to communicate with their network. Board Member Hershey spoke about the J-Bill in her report today. And I just want to reiterate what an important piece of legislation this is that we cannot turn a blind eye to. This, again, circumvents voters, changes our laws, and takes away a government closest to the people. And so if that's important to you, if being able to go out and vote for your school board who manages your tax dollars is important to you to be able to hold those people accountable, please don't shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, I guess this is the thing they're going to do. You have a voice. So talk to the people you know, find out how you can get involved, and we have to act. We're going to have to be able to get out and up and make our voices heard and advocate for public education. The time is now. So I think that's all I have. Oh, welcome back to school. That's the last thing I'll say. Everybody's coming back to school. Teachers, welcome back this week. I'm so excited for our students to be coming back, excited about another year of great success. And I'll share a quote from Art Williams. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. And that has been something that has been important to me all month. It's not easy, but it'll certainly be worth it. And so as you go to school, this school year 1920, it's going to be great, but it's worth it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Willie? I know, I was going to mix it up a little bit.
Okay. So first off, I had a chance to go by Ocean Way and meet with many of the bus drivers from First Student. So just being able to sit in on their training and see how critical they are to our ecosystem of schools. Oftentimes we don't think about all the moving parts, but I sat in and all the things that they had to think about and train on and do as a bus driver. You think about a teacher, you at least get to face your students. On a bus, you're driving and you're there in the back. So there's so many things to think about. So just huge appreciation to that group and all the other bus drivers and all the other entities that are helping to get our kids safely to school and from school. I think it's a pivotal piece. In addition to that, got a chance to visit many back-to-school events that were happening around the community last weekend. One at EWC, one at a couple at churches, and a big shout out to the class of 1985, Reebok class of 1985. They put on one of the biggest and baddest backpack drives that you'll ever see. They say that. And it was at Reebok, and it was fantastic. I think they had more people than they've ever had, and I think it just shows and showcases how the community can really come out and support, because at the end of the day, now there are students that have resources that may not have had resources on the first day of school. So I really appreciate all of them. We've also had a number of conversations this week in around Northwestern and Lake Forest. There's some transition in each of those schools. Thank you to the staff for all the work that you all are putting in to ensure that parents are informed, the community is informed about what's happening at each of those schools. And I'm looking forward to what's going to be happening, especially at Northwestern, with some of the different things we just voted on today with Aim My Kids and some of the other resources that we're pouring into that school. So if you're someone who wants to get involved in schools and says, hey, I've been thinking about volunteering, Northwestern, come on out. We'd love to see you all hands on deck for Northwestern and any other school that's near you. I think it's going to be important as we start off school. The last thing I'll say is we're living in a very interesting time in our country right now. I think about we're starting back school, and I know we talked about having a moment of silence for all the violence that's happening across our country. One of the ones that stuck out to me was the mass shooting that happened in Walmart while folks were shopping for back-to-school supplies. I mean, how dark is that? So I just think about how urgent we are. These moments that we're in now, we need to have so much urgency about the now, about making sure our students are getting what they have because of what is happening around us. So the more that we can flood with light, I think darkness will be removed. Lastly, I'll just say that we've been talking a lot about the political pieces of what's happening, and it's easy because of all the noise and media and other things to get pulled away from center. And if we center ourselves on kids, it's easy to be pulled away with the noise of politics and influence and all these other pieces of it. And I know that this board, I'm urging this board and everyone else, we to recenter ourselves. And I know we've done that. And I just encourage us to keep our eye on that as a board, for us to keep our eye on that as we go into conversations. We'll be having them next week with our city council. Hopefully those conversations are productive and move us to a place of action, which is where we want to be. And that's what this is all about, moving ourselves to center, because our kids are what matters. They're going to be starting school on Monday. On Monday, our kids are going back to school. Mine's going back. Mine's starting on Monday. I think I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. After she goes, then I can cry.
Yes, cry at home.
But we're excited. There's so many emotions that are going in. Congratulations to teachers who started and are in their classrooms now. I've seen on Facebook all the different posters and things that are going up. And lastly, next on Wednesday, there's a big day. Our superintendent's throwing out the first pitch. I will be there. I told her I could warm up if she needs to. She said she doesn't need that. She's ready to go. But one last time to celebrate our teachers before we start a long school year. And hopefully our teachers are rested and rejuvenated as they go into the school year, because they're our front lines, they're our champions, they're our leaders, and we need them to be ready to go. And I think they are.
Thank you. Board Member Joyce?
Well, I am sorry that I am not going to be able to watch Dr. Green throw out the first pitch tomorrow night. I have a trip planned, and so I'm not going to be able to be there. I have donated my tickets to Board Member Willie, so you'll be able to see his beautiful children there instead of me. So, but good luck, and
thank you.
Go Jumbo Shrimp, right? And Team Duval. This is an exciting week. We have all of our teachers coming back to work, and I know it's a fun environment. I am grateful for all the principals that I know spent a lot of time over the summer preparing for that first day the teachers come back. And there was some really good food, some breakfast that was going on in those schools. And they're planning, they're going to do a lot of work this week to get ready for kids. And so I appreciate the work that they're doing, and the teachers. Kids, you guys need to start going to bed early, because it's coming next week. And I know y'all like staying up till 11 or 12 o'clock. Believe me, I have kids that do that. And so we're trying to get back in that routine. I have a couple of milestones that I think are kind of big. My youngest child is going into high school, and he is going to be at Baldwin Middle Senior, so I'm really excited about that. But also Baldwin Middle Senior is all celebrating their 100-year anniversary this year. Wow. So I can't wait for that. That's going to be awesome. Baldwin Middle Senior, 100 years old this year, 1920 to 2020.
We have the oldest schools in the county.
We do. And I also will be attending my 30-year anniversary reunion from Ed White High School in September. So that's a big milestone as well, showing my age. I am very honored to be able to have three of the three schools that were acknowledged tonight in my district. And I want to give a shout out to Miss Rose Hammond, who is the principal at Ortega, and Miss Chapman, who's the principal at Venetia, and Miss Winfrey, who's the principal at Hyde Park. There was a lot of work that went into those schools, and I visited them last year, and there is just a lot of love, and I'm proud of the teachers and the kids and the administrators in the 2 letter grades. That is amazing. It's amazing. Mr. Stovall, thank you so much for coming up here. And I know that we all acknowledge the hard work that your guys put into our facilities, and I appreciate that. And, you know, with the shootings last week, and just as Board Member Willie said, just the darkness that surrounds all that, I am grateful, Dr. Green, for Wellness Wednesdays and the mental health services that our students are going to get, especially in the secondary, in our secondary education. Middle school, I taught that just as recently as last year, and there are a lot of kids who need help, and I'm glad that we have those services available to them. I think that's it. I'm done.
Thank you. Board Member Smith-Juarez.
Thank you, Chair Hershey. So several things. Again, congratulations on all of the success that we now are getting the results from last year. We knew that there was a tremendous amount of hard work that went into last year. Being just 4 points away from an A is a tremendous accomplishment for this district. We're a B+++, as many as you can have. And so we are really excited and proud of that. Lots to celebrate in individual schools with individual students. And what we're seeing across the district. Ms. Grimes' alma mater is an A for the first time, Wolfson High School, District 3 school, and as you've heard, just a whole lot to celebrate across the district that we are really excited about. It was wonderful on Saturday to be with my colleagues in a room full of teachers. The last Saturday before they reported back to school, they showed up to get started, to get things kicked off, to drill down and to get prepared for the year. And so it was wonderful to be with them, to hear that enthusiasm, and to see them willing to come back even earlier than the start of school to continue work and advocacy for Duval County Public Schools. Also, do want to thank United Way and all of the partners who come together to provide our mental health services, which will be expanding for children this year. There was a lot of commitment and foresight that went into that partnership so that Duval was prepared and ready when additional funds came from the state, and the city certainly, through the Kids Hope Alliance, has stepped up to assist and even exceed what state funding is designated for those programs. This is a tremendous opportunity for our students, and the fact that it is embedded in schools makes it that much easier, more accessible, and a part of every day for our kids. There are some children who are going to be in need of those services at times, and that should be just as easy as accessing physical health services or academic supports that our children need. And so to have those in our schools is really tremendous, and I want to thank all of those partners who I will not name because I'll forget someone. There's so much positive and so much to celebrate about what's happening in Duval County Public Schools, and about all of the accomplishments, the continued commitment of parents, of our employees, of our students who will be coming back excited and hopefully having read a whole lot of books over the summer. There are also some things to be on folks' radar as we approach this school year, and some conversations that are happening in the foreground, certainly, but that need that continual focus on children, and in bringing that back to what we can do to serve our children here in this community. I have to say, I was at over across the river today, and was pretty disappointed by the tone of the council, our partners who we have been seeking to work with since children were still in school last May, to place a referendum on the ballot for the voters to decide whether or not they would like to invest in our schools. And we've talked quite a bit about the financial resources, the human resources that go into maintaining our schools, which we are incredibly thankful for, and our maintenance staff does a tremendous job of stretching the dollar resources that we do have. But I want to take a minute and talk about maybe the one sure non-renewable resource for our kids: time. We cannot make it stop. We cannot wind it back. We cannot slow it down, and we cannot press it forward. But it is fleeting for our students. They spend 12 years in our schools. We have been trying since really 2 years prior to May, but certainly since we sent the referendum to the City Council in May, to get something moving there. To answer a long list of questions, which we are happy to answer. Information is important. Information is certainly something that the council and the public deserves. But there's got to be a process to this. And there's got to be a way that we go about doing this in a way that validates and enhances what we can do together for our city. And I have to say that I found it curious that our staff, I know, was here late into the evening seeking to answer questions for council because I was on the phone with them at 8, 9 o'clock at night, and they were still in the building. And when we sent the answers over to council in the best way that we could prepare, we were given a meeting date 2.5 weeks out. We requested a meeting date sooner than that, one that actually I have scheduled travel to be out of town, but I felt like it was more important to take the meeting than to wait because we cannot get back time. And then there were 12 members. After we requested a meeting as early as this week, there were 12 members of council who came to a meeting today, a meeting for which this board was not directly invited, engaged, or prepared for the agenda. And so I encourage the public, while I know you are consumed with all of the really fantastic, really exciting things about a new school year, to stay engaged in this conversation, to talk to your elected members about time, about the fact that our children are returning to schools with no new horizon for when those school buildings will be improved to the standards that they deserve. We are working on that. We are continuing to work on that, but time is running by. I also, at the same time, would point to the J bill that you have heard from, and I want to read from that because I think words are important and language matters. And so lines 12 and 13 of that J bill, I'll start with line 11 to begin the sentence. The school board shall consist of 7 members. Line 12 begins with struck language. The words elected in a nonpartisan district election are struck from what is in this bill and instead replaced with appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. The bill goes on to strike the word election or elected more times than I could try to quickly count as we were going through, and replaces with appointment, appointed, and even this bill would replace the electorate with the mayor as one to appoint. I think that the public's voice, the voters' voice, not just because I sit in this seat, but because I won't sit in this seat that much longer. And I value the opportunity to continue to influence public education through my vote, even when I'm not here. I'll be termed out next November. I want to vote for the next elected school board member who will sit in this seat. And I think that it's very important that the public know that this is happening and know that it can happen without a vote of the public. Mm-hmm. So at the same time that we sit and wait for the elected council to decide whether or not they will allow voters to decide how they want to invest in their public school system, there also is a legislative process moving forward that would not just say wait, but would say you no longer can. And I think the fact that this is brought forward by someone who was elected by the same constituents who vote for many of us who sit on this board should be addressed by those constituents who made those votes. I also just want to quickly reference on the information for proposed bill, which is required along with J bills. Number 5, it asks to check one or the other. I'm going to read the one that is checked yes. This bill creates or amends a special act, states specifically why this legislation cannot be accomplished at the local level. And the note that's made here, I think Ms. Hershey read earlier, this legislation needs to be decided upon by the Florida State Legislature. So at the same time that the mayor who this bill is seeking to make the appointer of your school board, the public school board, has appointed, confirmed by the council, a charter revision commission that has the opportunity to take this up and put the question in front of the voters. Were they to bring it forward? You have a legislator elected by the people who's saying, rather than letting that process take its course and putting this question in front of the voters, were the Charter Revision Commission to feel it that important, let's move it through the legislature. So I think this is very important for the public to stay attuned to stay aware of, because I, as a citizen of Jacksonville, as a former history teacher and civics teacher, and someone who values public education as a civic good for the preservation of our republic, the democracy that we all get to participate in, think that it is very important that the public be aware of how your vote is being discussed by those who the public put in office. So thank you for that extended time to talk about those two items that I know we will continue to talk about as a board, but that I think we cannot lose opportunity to speak about, because it is so important to not just the future of this school district, but the future of the vibrancy of our communities, the future of our economy, the future of how we come together as a city. And I'm going to close with one last thing, because I started out positively and I think we should end positively. In my house of worship, we have a time for the children where they come forward. And the children all sit in front of the congregation, and we raise our hands and we do the blessing of the children. And so tonight I want to end my public comment with the blessing of the children. We love you, we bless you, we behold the light in you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Grimes.
You're gonna make me.
Well.
Oh wow! I don't know that I can do that. I have found the last probably week, since we've been doing our best to do what we need to do. I've become very sad. I think it's sad as what, and between all of the things that are going around in our nation, and how we have, and in a lot of ways, it's that our children are almost forgotten at times. And I feel like, I guess that's the one good thing about being on the board is all you have to do is walk into a school, or you know, just seeing the kids, and they're sort of just going along their merry way. But you know, the adults are doing their thing, and it's not about the children. It is for us, but it certainly isn't for many other people. And I really have been amazed that we have gotten to this point. I never in my wildest dreams thought that the council that this would be something that it seems so simple. And it obviously has become, it's just not a good environment that we're doing this for our children. But on the other side of the river, they're doing their adult things. And so I find that very, very sad. But on the other side, I have really, I've watched our community come out with Stuff the Buses and all of the things that people have
been doing for our children to get them ready for school. Just sort of, I mean, it seems to go, I mean, there was a time nobody did that. So we're going in the right direction of doing what we need to do for our children. So I'm trying real hard to not get too feeling too bad about things, but it does. I guess for me too, I'm not convinced that we are going to get what we need, and so that also makes me sad. But I do want to thank our teachers, our principals, our staff, all of the schools as they come back to school. And because I'm the only one on the board that's not an educator, I continue to say, because I could never do it. I could never teach. I can do other things, but that's not one of them, because it takes so much patience. And so I just want to shout out to all of our teachers and all of our principals and all of the people that go to school every day just so that our kids can grow up to be adults who will make good decisions. And I have to, Dr. Green, I really, really appreciate the fact that, I mean, you're a strong woman because it has been hard. I know it's been hard for me, and I know it's been harder for you, or and your staff. I mean, y'all are just incredible, and you know, I've been around a long time, and the one thing I do appreciate too is, even though we have our differences on the board at times, this is a really good board. It's a good board. I've experienced not so good boards. So I appreciate all of you, and we're just gonna keep going and hope that we can get through all of the adult stuff and get our children what they need.
Thank you. Vice Chair Jones?
Wow, what do I say? I look forward to tomorrow night. Who's going to catch that pitch you're going to throw out, Dr. Green? That's the key. Are they going to be able to catch it?
Then they're not very good.
I'm sure you will.
Follow me. Wherever that ball goes, go catch it.
But I, too, want to commend Dr. Green and her staff. I mean, here we are preparing for a new school year, and we're given almost 100 questions, and that number keeps increasing each meeting we attend to respond, and staff did an outstanding job, I thought, of responding to those questions that were relevant to improving the district schools. Some of those questions were not relevant, and someone once said they could Google some of the answers. So I just want to thank the staff for all the hours you put in preparing to answer those questions, and at the same time preparing for a new school year. I attended a session yesterday morning at one of my schools, and it's amazing the kind of work and preparation the principals and the teachers have to engage in to make sure they follow Dr. Green's direction, to make sure that they get those points up, the grades they need. And I think as a district, we are making progress. We are 1 percentage point from an A school district, and only 4 points from an A school district. And I think that's a compliment to the teachers and staff that we have that's done such an outstanding job. Also want to shout out to Tan Mayhew with Kicks for Kids. On Sunday, she, in that group she has, gave 2 pair of shoes to every child that attended there. And they had 3,500 shoes, and every child left with 2 pair of shoes, and what was left over was donated to other nonprofits to help children. So I think she does an outstanding job, and Channel 4 is a major sponsor, and we thank them for what they do for our children. Also, shout out to Newtown Success Zone, George Maxey. They had probably 1,800 people to show up on Saturday at EWC Gym. They gave out backpacks. They gave out food. They did, I forgot, 80-some physicals for students who are going back to school this year. Outstanding, well-planned, well-organized back-to-school event. Moving on to this J-Bill 1, in our ask for a sales tax referendum, I've spoken to 14 council members, some former, some current, over the last 2 or 3 months, and it is frustrating. I think this board has articulated very well to the council the concern that we have for moving this issue forward. But unfortunately, that's not the issue. Unfortunately, the real issue is power and who controls the $1.4 billion that we would generate with the half-penny sales tax. I often wondered why the push was for 2020. When I saw J-Bill 1, I realized why there's a push for 2020. Because come July 1, none of us could be reappointed if that bill were to pass. None of us would be here as board members. If J-Bill 1 passes the legislature, becomes effective July 1, the mayor then could appoint this entire board.
At least 4 seats.
No.
What's the entire one?
He can remove all. He can remove all. He can, you know, you serve at the pleasure of the mayor, so the mayor could ask all members to resign. So, in spite of what the bill says, he could ask all members to resign. So, it's very unfortunate that that's happening, but that's the reality that what we face. And there's been an effort for over 10 years to have the school board appointed. It started with the Charter Revision Commission 10 years ago. The council did nothing at that time. Then the effort was to elect board members that special interests could control, and they have not been successful. After spending $109,000 in one race and $77,000 in another race, they still lost, and yet here we are. So it's not about what's good for our kids, but it's having control of those dollars, and that's unfortunate. And this too shall pass, and I think our school district will be better off once we get through this process and get about the business of taking care of our children. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, did you know Manager Middle got an A? That was good news for my district. You probably can't see my phone. Well, now I gotta get it open, but have you gotten your app yet? The Duval County School Board has a new app, and I encourage you to download it. It will put everything you need to know about your students, about schedules, about information that the district's trying to push out right here at your fingertips. So please take your time and look. It even advertises, it just changed, but it had on here a second ago the game that takes place tomorrow night at the baseball fields. I encourage you to be there if possible at 7 o'clock. We all need to have some fun. And so it would be nice to take a break, and I hope that we get to see you there. I want to welcome teachers and principals back, give a special welcome to our newest principal in District 7, Principal Walker, who will be at Greenland Pines Elementary. I had an opportunity earlier this week to stop by and visit with her, and I know that they're going to have a great year, and they got an A last year as well, so they moved up a letter grade, so that was exciting. Do I hear a call to adjourn?
So moved.
It was moved by Board Member Anderson and seconded by Board Member Willie. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
School buildings in Duval County are falling apart. Walls are crumbling. Air conditioning is failing. Roofs are leaking. And almost every school has significant maintenance and repair needs that are impacting classroom education. Why are students and teachers in this mess? For two main reasons. First, state funding for repair, renovation, and maintenance of traditional public school buildings was slashed more than 10 years ago. Second, schools in Duval County are among the oldest in Florida, and anyone who has owned an old home or an old car knows that old things require more maintenance, not less. The state funding cuts in 2008 and 2009 have reduced the dollars available for repairs and renovations by almost $300 million over time. And this isn't just Duval. All districts in Florida endured similar cuts. In St. Johns County, Orlando, Tampa, and many other districts, residents filled this gap using a half-penny sales tax passed by local voters. Last year, a small county like St. Johns County Schools received more than $18 million to repair and renovate schools and build new schools for growth. A large county like Orange County, the Orlando area, received $236 million just by collecting a half-penny sales tax, about $6 a month for an average family. Duval is now hoping city leaders and city voters create the same funding source for schools and students. If voters say yes, we'll fill the gap left by the state and ensure Duval's children have the same quality facilities enjoyed by students throughout the First Coast and throughout the state. You can learn more about the proposed referendum at www.ourduvalschools.org.